Welcome to part 2 of my Texas-sized chicken coop build. If you didn't see video 1, watch that one to see how I built the coop up to this point. It covers how I built the walls and set the trusses. Now we're going to pick it back up by starting to build the roof.
So before doing roofing, the first step is going to be to apply the drip edge. Just so when water runs off, it's going to lip away from the structure itself. On all of the gables, very standard 90-degree drip edge is applied, but then for these valleys, you get this special flashing and then just cut around. But now that the flashing is down, we can start roofing. And what I'm going to be going with is the Endura roofing, which I've used multiple times. It goes down in full sheet panels, so doing a roof like this is going to take no time at all. This Endura roofing is recycled asphalt. It just doesn't look like your typical shingles. What I like to do is I like to pre-drill all of my holes so that once I'm up on the roof, I can just run in screws. There is a specific pattern for the screws. Basically, at the very eave, the very bottom, every single corrugation needs to be screwed. Then, every 2 feet, you need another line of screws, but then those get every other corrugation screwed down. Now, I'm gonna leave the top unscrewed for right now because up at the very top, at the very end, something called a ridge cap is gonna be placed on, and then that is also gonna get every corrugation screwed down. These screws are kind of special in the fact that they have this head on them that has a gasket at the bottom. You want to make sure that whenever you're running in these screws that you run them all the way to seat that gasket nice and flush against the material. However, you don't want to over tighten it and crush the material itself. Mine.
Since my coop is right next to a fence, I found it easier to climb up on the coop and work from the top plate. Cindy was my ground person and passed me up my new panels and screws when needed. She also handled screwing down the very last row of screws closest to the eave while I handled the rest in the field.
Now, it's nice and sunny right now, but a bunch of rain is coming at noon. So in order to make this roof go a lot quicker, as I'm finishing up the back, Jacob is going to go ahead and start roofing the dormer.
Just something I would do to make it go easier, I would install the ridge cap as I went. And this prevents me from having to climb back over the entire roof once I was done with the panels.
What a difference adding the roof gives the space. It also allows me to be able to do something without getting rained on. I do want to come back because I know it looks very one color right now. But the trim work is going to be white and it's really going to give it that pop. But the things that still needs to be done is the roosting bars, the nesting boxes, finishing out that cabinet. So I do have some things that I can do if this rain decides to come down.
Let's start with building out the nesting boxes. These are very simply made just from plywood. However, the sizes are designed to easily be attached between the studs. I even have room below to add another row in the future. So the chickens don't kick everything out and eat a lip right here. There's a few fancy ways of doing this, but a good old 2x4 it works great. Now let's go over to the roosting bar side. These bars are just simple arms with a notch cut out of them to hold a flat 2x4, which is best for a chicken's foot. The idea of the shelf, and really for the whole coop in general, is to move away from bedding and go instead to litter. There's this big movement and studies that back it up on how this keeps chicken coops much cleaner. The idea is that I'll fill up the bottom of the coop and the run and the shelf with sand or something else scoopable so that every day I can clean the coop by scooping out the poop. Be aware if you do this, you do have to be specific about the sand that goes into it. Play sand is highly dangerous to chickens as it's made to compact. If you're worried about the time, everybody who switched over this method says it takes them roughly 10 minutes for a coop this size. I personally can't wait to try it out. Yep, that's cool. Texas winters are a trip. It goes from 90s one day to 30s the next, and these Sunfire Radiant heaters are kind of like traditional torpedo heaters, but they're safer and quieter. Plus, they burn cleaner and put out almost zero carbon monoxide or odor. To learn more, you can check the link in the description. This was a huge lifesaver as I ended up building so much of this project in my garage because of the weather. After building a simple door and giving it a coat of paint, I also sheathed it in wiring. Remember, I used the wrong type of wiring here. Instead of poultry wiring, you need to make sure to use hardware cloth. I'm gonna have to redo mine. A tip for installing a door, it's easiest if you lay down a spacer on the ground to rest the door on. Then also install the hinges on the door first. Now Jacob could hold it in place while I attach the other side of the hinges to the opening.
Good. It worked.
Man door down, let's put in an automatic chicken door. This required some simple trim pieces to go down. Then I screwed on a door I purchased online that's battery operated.
Whoa!
Open. Hey, chicken door, open. Heck yeah. 99 chickens.
Then I came back and stapled on some simple painted trim to make it prettier.
Yeah.
Sticking to the outside, I started on installing the trim, pre-building the corners and painting them before attaching them. Jacob went through and cut the opening for these boxes. The blade at a 90 for 3 sides of the cut, but then angled steeply for that very top cut. As he did that, I would place a few hinges along the bottom. Then at the top, I put in a different piece of hardware to where when I turn the knob, it releases the door. Well, it will after I finish cutting out the corners left over from the circular saw. I used a multi-tool for this, but a jigsaw would also work. So the way that these nesting boxes work, when they're actually laying eggs, right now they're not, so I don't even have bedding in there, I'll be able to reach in here and grab the eggs out and then shut the door. So I can either collect the eggs from the inside or I can collect them from the outside. Now let's throw in another door. You can't see them, but Jacob is on the inside of the coop placing wedges to shim up the sides while I look at the reveal around the entire opening and tell him if it's equal or not. I gave it a quick coat of paint and then decided to cut in a chicken door opening at the very bottom. And this way during winter I can keep this shut and not let out all their produced heat. Then if I want to let more ventilation in the summer, I can just leave it open. For the winter months, I cut some custom panels out of TUFTEX to go over all these openings. This material has amazing insulation properties and is a good choice for greenhouses. It easily cuts with a circular saw and is very lightweight, but it's also super strong. These store nicely in the rafters of the run and are simple to take off or put on. Okay, I had some sand delivered to my house and then carted it 1 barrow at a time into the coop and spread it around. Again, if you do this method and you get sand, make sure it isn't play sand. What I did is I filled up not only the run, but also the coop and even the tray under the bars. And this is gonna allow me to scoop the poop on a daily basis and then of course use it in my compost while keeping a clean coop. Okay, and then there we have it. I have been using it for a few weeks and I'm really loving this new layout and design. My last coop was awesome if I wanted a smaller flock, but having a larger flock, this is gonna make all the difference. I love the onboard dry storage from this cabinet. I keep all of their food and their treats, their extra toys, everything chicken related inside the cabinet. Then over in the coop itself, I have a plug-in heater that I'm keeping along the bottom, but then I also installed 2 heat lamps in case it gets really chilly. And I can tell a difference between outside of the coop whenever I go into the coop, so those insulation panels are working. I would love to hear what you think about my new chicken coop, and don't forget I have a set of plans for this one as well as 2 others that I've done in the past. I'll leave you a link to not only those videos but also the website where you can find the plans.